Welcome to the AmericanaMusic.com podcast with your host, Sarah Popejoy.
Today we have with us the Young Fables, Laurel Wright and Wes Lunsford. You're the first in hopefully a really long series of interviews of Americana artists for AmericanaMusic.com. They are an amazing, amazing duo. I got to see them for the first time in Kansas City at the Folk Alliance conference. You guys really, really stood out to me. Really genuine thing that I really love about your music. And your website says it really well, like the crossroads of classic country and Americana. I've had praises from people like Sheryl Crow, Shania Twain, and Travis Tritt, and accolades from Rolling Stone and their 10 best country and Americana songs of the week. That's pretty cool. First of all, I want to kind of just start from the beginning, where you guys are from, Maryville, Tennessee. Did you guys meet in Nashville or Maryville? Because I know you're in Nashville now.
Maryville, but we played together for about a year in Easton, and then we came to Nashville right after Laurel's 19th birthday.
Yep. So we met there, but Wes and I were 10 years apart, so we didn't like grow up together or anything.
Yeah, we didn't even know each other. We just knew each other. Like a friend of mine called me and was like, "Hey, I play in this band. I need like a last minute guitar player to come play," and that's how we met.
Tell me a little bit about Maryville and what it's like.
I thought Maryville was a really great place to grow up. I mean, small town. There wasn't too much to do at the time, I feel like, in Maryville, but cool music scene. Like being really close to like Knoxville, with a city that everyone is more familiar with than Maryville. I feel like there was a lot of good music that's come out of just East Tennessee in general. So I thought it was a really great place to grow up, especially for that.
And there's so much music there, like, and differing kinds of music. Like I grew up not even really knowing anything about country music because there's so much other things in Knoxville, Maryville, just there's a great blues scene, there's a great jazz scene, even like, classic music, like art music and stuff like that. So
that's cool.
It's awesome.
You think some of that has to do with the college there,
or
just Maryville is about 23 minutes from Knoxville, and I saw that it was only about an hour from Cades Cove. So you could see the Smoky Mountains from your house, like from where you guys are. I mean, in Maryville was.
Yeah, I grew up like in a neighborhood subdivision type thing, and we had a porch that you could see them like in the distance, and it was gorgeous views. But Wes, you lived a little.
Yeah, it's funny because my mom actually lived in Seymour. My dad lived in Tallahassee, Tennessee, so Maryville's the middle. But both of those places are like pretty rural, like right in the mountains. So it's like I could not only see it, it was surrounding me at all times.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and so I saw that Sam Houston's historical schoolhouse is there.
That I took my cousin there not too long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, fun.
I was like, that'll be one that the Texans will like. Laurel, tell me about, I know you talk a lot about, because I did see the documentary, about your front porch view.
Yeah.
And and your dad. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Just I don't think anyone's ever asked me that question before. Just kind of like taking my mind back there to that front porch and being able to like sit there with my mom and my dad and my sister and just having those memories. It's like pretty overwhelming to even think about today.
Yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, that was just really special. And I think, my mom moved out of that house just a few years ago.
Okay.
And it was just time for her to get like a new start. And that was really hard for both of us to kind of like let that go. But there is a new family in there now, and they want that to be their forever home. So I think that's something that's really special that I've been kind of carrying with me as well. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. I'm super jealous of the people that live there now, and I just knock on the door and be like, "Can I sit for a while?"
Right. They might let you. Who knows?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the house that built me, that Miranda song has a totally meaning to me after getting rid of that house. So yeah.
When I first heard that song on the radio, I was like, "Oh, this is a hit." Tell me, I kind of want to know like about the beginnings of your guys' musical journey. each one, Laurel, with singing and writing, and what just really inspired you to start doing that, or was it just always there?
I think it was always there. It's I always said that I don't know. I don't think there's another path for me. I think this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And just speaking of that front porch, like sitting out there and just having like the Smokies around me growing
Mm-hmm.
up, and just being in that kind of environment really like sway or what's the word?
Persuaded.
Persuaded my writing? No, that's
Mm-hmm.
the wrong influence. There.
The comments from like writing.
Writing? She's a
Yeah.
no, really influenced my songwriting. But I grew up
Yeah.
like classic country music. Thank you, Wes. Classic country music, and I loved Patsy Cline and all that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But I also love Shania Twain, Dixie Chicks, things like that. And now I really like Casey Musgraves, Chris Stapleton, Jason Isbell, Maddie Diaz, and I feel
Mm-hmm.
like my things that I like are kind of all over the place. So, and they kind of switch a lot.
I think
That's
that's good.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
gives you a lot
what?
of directions if you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
For
Wes,
me,
what about you?
I grew up uh just like I've always been behind the curve. I always loved like older music, and so like the Beatles and Bob Dylan were the things that like really opened my mind musically, and my mom bought me a guitar. I think I was like 13, and I like became obsessed and would play for like hours and hours a day and stay up all night and play guitar. And
He still does that.
oh yeah, because to me, like when I was a kid and like I was just by myself and I had a hard time like learning people's songs at first. And so like I would just write songs and just be like, okay. And but then like I got really into playing jazz and stuff like that. And so like I really just focused on playing guitar and I didn't write songs for years and years until like really me and Laurel um started playing together and she like for some reason just brought a song into me and was like, hey, can you help me with this or whatever, and so we just started writing together. So I really think that I wouldn't be writing at all if it wasn't for Laurel, for sure.
And I don't think I'd be writing as much if it weren't for Wes. Because before we ever started co-writing in Nashville, because that's kind of what you do here,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we didn't even realize it, but like it's not like we were against co-writing. We just didn't do it with anybody but ourselves, but we were still co-writing. So
Yeah, and like I was so focused on like trying to be the best guitar player I could be, and it's still my, one of my goals is to be the best guitar player I can be. But I was like really trying to do that and like traveling around with different people and learning different artists, music, and I went to China for a while to play guitar. And while I was over there, that's when I got into country music. Somebody sent me a video of Glenn Campbell playing, and I heard his solo at the end of the song. And I was like, I need to do this. So then I met Laurel almost immediately when I came back to the US.
yeah, weird.
That's really cool. I'd like to talk about your song Drive. First off, I love that song, by the way. It's a great song. There's a few, and I feel like every songwriter, when you start writing something, whether or not, whatever it may be about, you tell a little bit about yourself, whether or not you intend to do that or not, right?
Right.
So but there was just like a few songs that just really stuck out to me in that song, and like that getting up each morning and feeling nothing. And I think that anybody who's been through what do you say, like a great loss, a lot of loss, that I don't know, I think they can relate to that line quite a bit. And I know, like, it's just that one line, and it's not even necessarily what the whole song is about, but I just wanted to point out that line to the audience, because I mean, I just think it's a great line, and something you can, knowing your story, it tells it tells there's something there, and but anyways, I just lost my father about a little over a year ago. So anyways, but yeah, so But and then the next line that I want to talk about, there's a few lines I want to talk about in the song. Sorry, I'm a songwriter, so it just like I'm like, ooh, I like this stuff. I just want to drive, leave it all behind, as long as I got four wheels and a radio. And as simple as that line is, which simple is hard in Nashville, you learn after writing for a while, is that there's something about music and driving that can aid in the healing process, I think. And do you want to talk about that, or just a little bit, or
Yeah.
have you ever thought about that?
So with Drive is one of those songs that is different for us, because usually I feel like, well, every song's different, but usually Laurel has the initial idea and we write from that. But this one, I had written all the lyrics.
Really?
And she made all the music. But
Wow.
thinking about it, and Laurel talks about that sometimes too, of where she feels like,
I feel like I wrote the song.
well, the lyric. I mean, you did write the song,
but I felt like the lyrics were my own. I guess what.
But what you're talking about, coming from that great loss, I wrote those words, and it was like I don't know, it was almost like I just wrote it to exercise that ability, but
Uh-huh.
came from a place of when my dad passed away, and I would just drive every night. I would just get in the car and drive around, and that's sort of
Wow.
what you're talking about. And it does come from that spot. And even though I know Laurel I mean, that's a big part of her story too, but
But it's a big part of everybody's story.
you're right. Everybody.
Right.
I mean, even like that line, that getting up each morning and feeling nothing, like that's a line that stands out to me as well. Every time I sing that, I'm like, oh, dagger to the heart, because everyone, if you haven't felt that way, you probably will feel that way at some point.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
very strong. And
So
yeah, that was
you
all
were able to
West.
get something like that.
Wow, that's cool.
Cool for me, like, just because I'm not even like a car person or anything like that, but that's just like what I did. And I talked to our friend Amy a lot because she likes that song too, and that's what she does, is she just drives around. And
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Where did you come up with that?" I was like, "I don't know. That's just like what I did." And that's like a space you can just like, you can feel nothing, talk to no one, and just go. And I've always, like, I feel like maybe, hopefully, this is not just me, but I always have these, ever since a little kid, are that since I could drive, I'd have these visions of like, what if I just went and went away? Like, how far could I go? On the money that I have in the bank or whatever it is. So I think it's a cool idea.
I think everybody's thought about running away from somebody or something.
Yeah, and it might just be yourself.
Another great line from that song is, "Can't see what I've been through because I've ripped off the rear view." I really love that line. That's a great. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even following that line, it's like, I ripped off the rear view. I finally feel alive. It's like, I feel like that really hits me.
Yeah. The finally feel alive. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, you do have to kind of let some of the things go in your past. At least from my experiences, it's been really hard, but it's made my healing process a lot healthier, I guess. Just like letting go
Mm-hmm.
of things that I probably should be letting go of. So that line's really powerful to me too.
Songwriting too, we talk about this a lot, and we talk about it in the documentary, of how, like, sometimes you write a song and you don't realize where it came from, like, in your life. You're just like, oh, I just writing,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, because I remember as a kid, I had a lot of like problems, like socially and stuff like that, and like I had to go to therapy because I didn't show a lot of emotion and things like this. And I think like music helped me get out of that. And so that's where that, like, I finally feel I'm not looking in the past, kind of thing. Like, waking up and feeling nothing. And so it's like, comes from these past experiences you don't think about as you're writing. And then you're like, where does that come from? And
Yeah.
that's it.
It's in you. Yeah.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, we are getting deep. I'm like, damn.
So let's talk about your documentary, which was really moving, "The Fable of a Song." And is it going to be open to the public? I mean, released to the public here soon?
It is. We actually just signed a deal with a network in Australia, so that will be first, and then
Uh-huh.
we'll just kind of see where it goes from there.
Yeah, we have somebody trying to work on where to put it here in the U.S. and Europe. So it should be out soonish. We're
Yeah,
hoping.
soonish. I'm
So
sure this
Yeah.
year.
we're so far removed from like the film world. We don't know
Yeah,
anything.
yeah.
I know. I totally
But I
understand
do know that. That's what I do know.
In the documentary, you talk about your sister, and just talk a little bit about your relationship with your sister when you were a young girl.
Yeah, me and my sister were always really close. But we kind of had different paths, I think, and especially whenever she kind of became a teenager, I had an outlet. I've always had music. It's always been my thing. If I ever needed to get something off my chest or if I felt a certain way and could
Express it.
express it. It's like they said words for me. I had music to kind of help me get that out. And my sister, she really tried to like find her thing. I mean, she did every sport you could imagine. She could sing as well, loved music, but she could never find her thing. And my sister, she was addicted to drugs at a young age. And that kind of like steered her in a direction of just kind of like going down a bad path and just kind of picking the wrong people to hang out with. But even through all of that, my sister would go in and out of just like being sober and things like that, rehab. And we even stayed close during all of that. She would write me. And when she was sober, it's kind of like I had my Lindy back.
Yeah.
But it was it was a tough relationship. It really was. And it took a lot of work, but I think we both wanted it. But I think that the creator had different plans for both of our lives. So, yep.
Yeah. Yeah. After seeing the documentary, listening to your song, She Was Mine, just hit 10 times harder. I mean, it's a great song in and of itself, and I think most people can relate to it, especially anyone who's been through a loss. But I'd like to go over some of the lines in that song as well. In the song "She Was Mine," what I love about that song, what I didn't notice, because the first time I heard it was in Kansas City. It's just the kind of song you don't forget. And it starts out with a prayer, which I mean, I knew like in the chorus that you were talking to God, but it starts out with a prayer, and I just thought, wow, how powerful. And I thought it was interesting because right off the bat you were apologizing to God for not praying enough, and I don't know why that hit me so hard, because of the fact that um it's like, here you're going through this really horrible thing, and this unimaginable thing, and I don't know, just like, I don't think that I don't know how to well, it's my, I just don't think that God would be upset, that even if you haven't prayed in a while. But I mean, I don't know why it just was so profound to me. You know what I mean? Like, I just saw him as like, it's okay. I don't know, so, but it really painted that picture to me, like, anyways, but, and then the next line you said, I've been, busy comforting everyone, but I'm tired of faking smiles. And I think there's always in those situations, there's always the people who are the comforters, and trying to make sure everybody else is okay.
Yeah, and I definitely had those people like in my journey too. I think that was coming from a place of like maybe just seeing my parents lose a kid. I lost a sister, and that was really, really, really hard and very unique, I think, for a 22-year-old to have a one sibling and
Yeah.
at such a young age. But yeah, like trying to like be there for my parents, I think is kind of where that line came from for me. Just not be like, not that I couldn't feel what I was supposed to be feeling, but just, I don't know, I wanted to stay strong for them kind of. And I think the prayer at the beginning, like, hey, it's me. I know it's been a while, like apologizing to God. I think that the whole first verse kind of is painting this picture of me just kind of like questioning, and maybe the whole song, I'm kind of
Yeah.
questioning my faith or his existence, or why would a God um that can do anything do this, just things like that. And I think that those are tough questions to ask, especially if you're like a spiritual or religious person. But I think that everyone kind of has those thoughts when they go through some tough stuff.
Yeah.
So like that was important to touch on.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Kind of leads into the line of God, I believe that doesn't mean I can't ask why. It doesn't mean I can't ask why. I really love that part.
Yeah.
And because some people I think struggle with that, being able that it's okay to question God,
Yeah.
So and I don't mean to be getting all
No, it's
No,
great. And we're all human, and I think that it's just, we're taught not to, so it's weird when we do.
yeah,
But we still do. So
yeah.
I just think we're all human, and I think that that's
Well,
just that part of it.
I think any kind of relationship, if you're not able to ask questions and back and forth, it's not really a relationship,
right.
anyways. But
You're right.
so and then of course the line of the song that is just, I know she's yours, but it sure felt like she was mine. Oh, I mean, there's so much in that line.
Do you remember what made you think of that? Trying to think back, because that was like one of the, you had that from the start.
Yeah, I think that it kind of comes from like God has a plan for your life, or we are his children type of thing. And it really feels like when someone is your sister and like your family, and then they're suddenly taken away by someone that if that's what you believe in, God created her, and that's really his child. So that was kind of hard for me to like imagine / let go of, I guess.
Yeah. There's so many truths to that song that I think it'll touch a lot of people. You know what I mean? I'm sure it already has. Have you had, people come up to you already and say, hey, talk to you about that song? Oh yeah.
Totally. And that's not one we sing at every show, but when we do, I always feel like I'm called to sing it that night, or I'm supposed to sing it. And when I do, it's like, that's why,
cool.
So
yeah,
definitely try to do it even when I feel like I can't do it, because sometimes it's hard for me to sing those songs,
Yeah, because they're so personal.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, when you're writing a song, especially like if you're writing in a group, if it's like the two of us or other people too, I feel like the consensus sometimes is to make it more broad, like she was mine. It could just be like they were mine, or something like that. But that's so specific, and I think that's what makes it so powerful. It's like it's so specific to like your sister and that relationship that I feel like people can get in there and put themselves. They can see the realness in it, and then they can put themselves there instead of like trying to broaden it out.
Yeah, totally.
One thing about that, the documentary when I watched it, and it starts out with the co-write of you writing Daddy's Girl.
Well, I think we really did just want to start from the beginning, of just being a daddy's girl without even being a little girl and even realizing it yet. My dad was such a fast driver and had such a lead foot, and that's where I get it from. But I just remember hearing these stories from like my mom and my grandparents saying like, well, he was really careful driving that day, and that was just kind of like a ongoing joke. So he get precious cargo.
what a great memory though. You know what I mean? So cool. Um, and then back to the front porch. I can't stand cigarettes and I hate the cold, but I'm freezing on the front porch because that's where Daddy smokes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great line. Great line. Great imagery too.
And Dean Fields, who helped us write this song, he is, I feel like he fights for lines a lot, and it takes sometimes a while to write the song, but it's always just so worth it. And you go back, and when you kind of unpiece all like the whole song and you're figuring out what each line means, I'm just reminded of his talent. Like I feel like that had a lot to do with him, you know.
Yeah, we wrestled with that part for a while.
But we finally got there, and I love that line because it couldn't be more true. I don't like being in the cold. There's no reason I'd be sitting out on the front porch and cigarette smoke if it weren't for my dad. So I think that really shows, like, you know, my big love for him since I hate those other things so much. So
yeah, in the bridge, one of my, I really love the line, "Daddy's girl makes him cry every time she sings." That was that kind of shows his love for you too, which I really loved. And then the chorus comes, and it's he gave me the best years of my life. I must have took a few from him because I was not an easy child. So sweet and sentimental, and you know, and it's just what I really think I love about your song, you know, Daddy's Girl too, is like it could have just been a very cliche-ish song, but you made it very personal and very real and very which creates the connectability with other people, I think, you know, of that this real relationship, and not just you know, common country lines or song. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. And I think that's what's so amazing about co-writing too, because you have people there to kind of pull things out of you, that because it's so, I think writing a personal song is harder than writing a song about something you don't really care about. So it's I'm so grateful to have had Patrick, Wes, and Dean there, all to kind of help me tell the story in the best way that we could.
And we talked about that specific thing a lot, like during the, I'm pretty sure it's in the documentary too, where it's like the cliched, that is like a cliched line. And we talked about not using that as the title. It's like, do we want to say that? And then I think it was Dean who was like, but that's exactly what we're saying. So it has to be that.
Yeah.
You know, it's, and it does work, and it doesn't feel like it's some cliched thing.
Yes, because the personal elements are in there.
Yeah.
He did get to hear this song too. I saw in the studio, which that's really awesome. What was it like having him in there in the studio?
It was great. I get chills thinking about it. But just being able to like be in the studio that we recorded the song in, and we had filmed this whole process of writing the song randomly, and we were still filming. And then my dad gets to hear the song. He drove to Nashville, and he sat in the studio that we recorded the song in, and I got to sit on his lap, and we told the story so well that he started singing the words like halfway through the song. And so I was just like, felt very thrilled at that moment, and it was just really special, and it's one I will never forget. And also my dad passed away not long after we even got the song finished. I mean, it really, all of that happened in such a short time, that it's just kind of wild that we have it all on film. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like, talking about my story, sharing my story is so important to me, because it doesn't feel like, it feels like I'm supposed to be doing it, no matter how hard it is for me sometimes. If it feels like this is a big part of my why, in not only music but in life.
It's so unreal of a story. Like, now that there's been time, you know, but between it, it's like, how did this happen? Like, it started, we were going to do a series of videos for YouTube, like 5 minutes long, of us just writing songs. Because, I mean, as a songwriter, you know, sometimes you write songs and they're bad, you know, so it's like you're just rolling the dice. We're just like, well, even if it's not good, it'll be fun for people to see like how we write songs or whatever. And that's the only one we did. And we liked it so much, we're like, well, let's keep filming. We'll film the recording and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Then Laurel's sister.
Wow.
And then it's a song about Laurel and her dad, but it's also a song about her sister and her dad's relationship, which was very similar. And so that happened and sort of switched the song around. And then Patrick, our manager, who was filming everything, he was like, hey, can I keep filming? And Laurel's just like, yeah, you know, whatever. And he goes and interviews her mom and dad, I think 2 weeks before he dies.
Mhm.
And we have all this footage. Like, who wouldn't want that footage of their parents, you know, like
Yeah.
to look back on?
And just to have Patrick and there was another guy, Andy Stroll, and they both they did the film. It was just them two. And we had a very small team with like the audio and all that stuff, but they just really they they told the story well, and they incorporated so many different things. Like there's therapist in the film, I think is just so necessary, and he like ties everything together, and he makes it so relatable even though it's such a unique story. Really it's really not, you know, a lot of people go have these same kind of feelings whether you go through that specifically or something else. So I think it's just important to keep sharing because everyone suffers.
Yeah, it was a beautiful documentary. It was wild how everything came together. I don't want to say meant to be seems so trivial, but I mean
I
like
know, but
the fact that
I was thinking the same thing though.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, maybe it was meant to be. Maybe this is how the story was supposed to play out. Whether it was or wasn't, it still is. So
Yeah.
it's like you
yeah,
might not, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
sad, but use it to go on
Mm-hmm.
in a
Mm-hmm.
way, I guess. I guess that kind of like um I just said earlier that I needed to let go of the past, but now I'm like, I'm gonna carry it with me.
Yeah.
I do think it's important though to remember and to carry those stories with you because I think it'll help me later in life, or if I ever go through something like that again, God forbid.
When you write songs or you write a song like that, especially the one about your sister, your dad, do you think that songs are part of the process of grieving, or are they just, or do they come kind of like after the grieving?
I think I've always got a song in me somewhere. I just think it's hard to during that whole process, like it was hard for me to just like survive. I think I was just like in survival mode and just trying to just make it through the days for like many years. And I think that after that is when things started kind of like pouring out, but we were still writing during that process. It just wasn't as much. It was really hard for me because I feel like I am
Yeah.
such a personal writer. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, maybe both. I felt like there's always a song in me. I'm always trying to get it out. I think just sometimes it's more difficult.
I think
Right.
with like just being in it, but also not it being like, but we would write songs and stuff together. It seems like with Laurel, uh, when something like that happened in both instances, there is like a time that needs to happen, and then like we wrote so many songs about it, trying. And it felt like Laurel was trying to find the right one, you know, the right one
Mm-hmm.
way to say it. And when we put out Pages, our third record, there's like a suite of songs that talk about it. There's one for her dad, one for her sister, and one for both. And like, I don't even know how many songs we wrote to get to those three, but it was a lot. Like, I felt like we had to work through a lot of stuff to get to those. You know,
Yeah.
just from an outside perspective.
No, I think you're right. I do feel like, you know, we're very honest songwriters too. So when you're writing about like your honest, true feelings, I think sometimes that can be, you know, going back to what we were saying earlier, hard.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't write about my dad. You know, I tried, but so
But maybe you will though. I mean, a year is really like
Yeah, that's
like
short.
that. Yeah, I can't believe you're up and working. So,
Oh,
but maybe you will though. Maybe you will one day.
yeah, I hope so. I think you'd like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny because I wasn't planning on sharing this, but when we were, getting stuff out of his house, um, I never knew, like, I couldn't tell, like, because he would encourage me, but I don't think he liked me being in Nashville, because I was too far away from home.
Yeah.
But when we were taking stuff out of his house, I found the first song that I'd ever written, uh, and he had it. I didn't even know he had it, so that was kind of cool that he had,
Almost like your sign to like write a song for your dad.
yeah.
That's what it seems like to me. There's your little
Well,
push.
yeah. So, on your website, it talks about advocacy for community healing. Talk about that.
Yeah, we have just like our online presence is also kind of similar to our songwriting in terms of
Hmm.
like being honest and vulnerable, and I'm kind of an open book, so I don't mind like sharing about my personal life or my mental illnesses. And I feel like the community that we've built through social media has really helped my healing process, and it's made me feel less alone, so I continue to do it. So hopefully other people feel less alone as well. It's kind of like a we're getting better together type thing. So it's really made a big difference in my life, to be honest. And I know that social media is looked down upon sometimes just because of like whether it be drama or just but there can be a lot of good things to come from social media too. So I feel like we try to keep our page along those lines.
Yeah, it's a great way for people to connect and not feel like they're the only person going through something. I always think of this story whenever we talk about anything like this. We played. Sometimes we go back to like East Tennessee and we'll play. Like one time we played at this nursing home and we just played for an hour, played some songs and talked and whatever. And we have a new song uh, at the moment of this recording, a new song called "Good at Hurting," and we talk or Laurel talks about it on the mic, and at the end there's this man who comes up and I see him come up to Laurel and he's talking. I just go and talking to other people, and he just opened up and he was like 80, probably in his late 80s, and he's like, you know what, I'm good at hurt. And it's like, man, this is something that everybody goes through, and it's something that everybody needs to feel like not alone in. So it's crazy.
Well, I really love what you guys are doing, and I think there's going to be a lot of people who are really going to be blessed by listening to your stories and through your music, and I think music can be healing, and so that's thank you so much for being on the show today, and I just want to yeah tell you that I really think you guys are doing a great thing.